The story behind the covered bridges in Cullman County cannot be found in a history book or some place on the internet. They are found only in the memory of one of Cullman County's greatest treasures, Buster Hancock.
While we was at Gardendale, we came back here in 33, spring of 33. While we was there, I bought a filling station at Gardendale. And when I come back here, I sold it. Come back and farmed here in 33 and 34 with my dad and mother, and planted a crop in 35. And
What made you come back?
well, that filling station business got slow, in that there wasn't no traffic on the road. Everything just shut in almost overnight. It just changed, and I didn't like living away from home, for one thing. And we come back here, and I farmed 30, 33, and 34. We hired a man. We hired another man to help do it. And in 35, I planted the crop again for my dad and mother, and he hired another man that year to help us. And the 4th day of July that year, we'd caught up with everything was all right till gathering time. And I started down here at Trimble. There was a man lived just across the bridge there, other side of Trimble there, had a sawmill, and they was operating that thing. And I walked off down to a house on a Sunday morning, and to ask him about working. I'd worked with him some before, and Uncle Dave Trimble, when Dave Trimble was standing out in his yard when I first, and we was talking. I stopped and we was talking. He asked me, he said, "What are you doing walking off down through here this early in the morning?" And I said, "Well, I'd start over here at the sawmill, man. I thought maybe I might help him a while." He said, "How would you like to work with me on them covered bridges?" I said, "Well, I believe that'd be better than the sawmill then." He said, "Do you think you can walk out on them scaffolds up pretty high above the ground?" Now, I knew a man by the name of Ollie McMahon was about my age, and I knew his working with him. And I said, "Can Ollie McMahon do that?" He said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, if Ollie McMahon can, I can too." He said, "Well, come on down in the morning. Let's see if you can." So I went to work on them covered bridges and worked there till we got that Sardis Bridge done, and I left there in August of 42. And we lost a little bit of having it done. I left there, and I saw I was going to get drafted.
How long did you work at the building bridges?
I went to work building them bridges in July of 35, and I left in 42, August of 42.
7 years?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did it change, or did it stay the same, the way you built them?
Well, it stayed the same way it's built. We didn't build no covered bridge. We repaired covered bridges.
Repaired covered.
Yeah, we didn't.
How many did you have to repair?
Well, right here is part of them. I couldn't think of the rest of them. I'm pretty sure it was 49 different ones I worked on.
Can you read them off to me? Do you mind?
Rock Creek, down here at Trimble, when you turn toward Gus's Crossroads, I'm sure you're acquainted with that. Just out there where you cross that creek, there was a covered bridge right there. And Cofer Bridge, that was going between Trimble and Good Hope on the road that goes from Trimble.
Different size, different lengths, right? They were different size bridges?
Different creeks.
Different creeks too, yeah.
Yeah.
Now it was covered too, right?
Yes, covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Then there's one at Grandview. That's over here on 222 where this cement bridge is. Over here at Grandview. It washed away. High water got it. And I helped build a cement bridge back and the County Road Department took it out a few years ago while Steve Hansen was in there. They took it out and built the one that's there now. I thought when we built that other one back yonder in 1940 or 41, I thought that'd be there from now on. Then there's one at Sanford. That's between Trimble and Brushy Creek. Just across the creek, going west from Trimble is where that road turns to the left. There's a covered bridge down there across Ryan's Creek. It was a pretty long bridge. And the Stewart Bridge, here's my next one I got wrote down. It was right back this side of Bug Tussle on the left going toward Buck Tussle. It was just a little piece out there off of 69 on the road that went back across that mountain to Arkadelphia. The next one I got wrote down is a Putman. It's across Mulberry River going out of Hansville east. Out of, what do they call it? Just out of Hansville. Well, the little burg had a name going out of east out of Hansville toward Blount County, toward Mulberry River. And the next one's Garden City. It was on the road between Garden City and Blountsville. It was a big job. That was a big long bridge. But the longest one was that Putman going out of Phelan.
Was it named after a person? Putman?
I don't know. Probably was.
How did they decide how a bridge was named? How did you decide what name to give a bridge? It
was by somebody that lived there close. They'd been living there a long time. Yeah. There's two on this road between here and Cullman. Both of them, that's the way they is named, by people that lived there for years. And there was two bridges between, two of them between Center Hill and Walter on the road. I don't remember what name we gave them, but there was two of them on that road from Hansville to Walter. And I got double bridges. That turn right there in Center Hill. I'm sure you've been down that road. And
when you say a double bridge, is you got two streams you have to cross?
That's right. On that road between Center Hill and going into Blount County, down that river, they was close together where that, I can't think the name of that river. It came down and run into Mulberry down there, but they was real close together. But they's on different roads. They crossed different streams, but they're real close together. I've worked on both of them a lot of times. And there's a bridge between Welty, and I can't see. There was one between Rexdall Store and Walter. Do you know where the Rexdall Store place was?
I think I do, but I'm not sure.
It's off of 278 East. And there was two between Cullman and Welty, going out the Welty Road out of town. And the Tanner Bridge was north of 278. And there was one between Fairview and Holly Pond. There's one west of West Point School. And I got Clarkson wrote down here. There's a Blevins Bridge. That's where they're working now. The Sardis Bridge. That's on Blevins Creek.
Where was it near? I mean, it's where they're working to build that bridge,
Where
right?
they're building that now.
How far up or down the stream?
I don't know just exactly where that covered bridge was at. It was destroyed. I never did see it. It was destroyed before I went to work. Just before I went to work with the county, if I remember right.
Somebody burned it, or?
I think it burnt.
Yeah.
It's either burnt or high water got it, and I couldn't say for sure. I'm not positive. And there's we call the Lay Bridge. That's over here just outside of Bethsaida, going toward Cullman on this road. And the next one was a separate bridge. There was an old man named Separate lived over there by it. I guess that about gets them what I can.
How many total had you written down there? About how many?
There's 27 or 8 of these. Me and Ollie McMahon, the man that was working on that job when I went to work, I went over to his house a few years ago now, and me and him sat down there and we took a piece of paper and we named them, and his wife sat there and wrote them down. There was 40-something covered bridges that me and him had worked on. And the next man that remembered that was Rolf Burks out at Belton. I talked to him about it once. Me and him struck up in the barber shop once. He is an old county hand. He was working when I went to work. And there was above 40, but I don't remember just what. But I can't think of them others or where they're at.
What did, when you said you repaired them, right? What sort of repair work did you have to wind up doing?
Let me show you something right here. That's the last picture was took of this one down here at Trimble, where you turn left to go toward the park. Now you see that was took on Saturday before that bridge burnt on Sunday morning.
And you worked on this one too, huh?
Yes, sir.
You didn't. What did you do? I've got.
You see that lattice on the side?
Yes, I do.
Well, that's what holds it. There's where they're fastened at the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
That goes through them bolts. Them's all bolted to that what we call the cord. It was a seal. There's 2 by-10s bolted together, and all them pieces that you see there that's latticed up and down, there's all bolted top and bottom through a 10 by 10. And that's what holds them bridges together. Them seals that runs all the way. Mm-hmm. It's 2 by 10s bolted together. No joint could be less than 4 foot. If we joined 2 here, the one that crossed them, the next one that went over that, there couldn't be a joint less than 4 feet of that joint. And we nailed them. I mean, we nailed them. And there's a bolt I believe it's every 3 feet. Goes all the way through that. And our boss, Uncle Dave Trimble, would say, "Boys, tighten them nuts just as tight as you can tighten them, and then pull them one more round." There's tightened. And that's what gives them things the strength. That's a stout bridge. This one right here that you saw the picture of, I drove a motor grader through that bridge 4 different times. And the book that came with it said it weighed 24,000 pounds. Of course, I knew this truckloads of coal went through that. It was harder on that bridge because that motor grader was long. And I knew this truckload of coal went through there. It was harder on that bridge than that motor grader was.
Any idea, when you started working on those bridges, you had to have known that a lot of them were quite old at that time, weren't they?
Yeah, they was all old, yeah. I don't remember when there's a covered bridge built in this county. Sure don't.
How old do you think they might have been when you started working on it?
Well, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Now that Clarkson Bridge was built in 1920 or 21. The one that was there got destroyed by water. That's the only one that I have any idea as to when they were built. Others was a lot older than that.
You think they might have been 50
Yes,
years,
sir.
100
Yes.
years?
A lot of them is 50 and better. Yeah, I'm sure of that. Yeah.
Did you know Mr. Legg?
No, I really didn't. I saw him, but as far as knowing him, no, I didn't. I knew that Gurney Leg that died just recently. I knew him real. I knew him for years. Mm-hmm. And he and I rode horses together some. But I knew all the Legs for a long time. And when I first went to work with the county, the one that gave that property up there and gave the timber, when it gave the timber, he didn't give the property. The county had the property down on that creek. But Mr. Legg had furnished the timber, and that bridge was named after him. I never heard of Clarkson till they named that bridge Clarkson a few years ago. All the time I was working on the Legg Bridge. I didn't know we had a Clarkson Bridge. And
what did you do to that bridge? Can you remember?
Oh yeah, we put in. It wasn't nothing unusual to put in that big part of that big seal, that cord we called it. It'd rot. It'd get wet and deteriorate.
What was the lifespan?
I'm not sure.
Like that? Any idea?
I'd say, well, it's all in what kind of timber. If we could get the right kind of timber, it'd last 10, 15 years. But it got to where it was hard to get that kind of timber. It was all gone. But if you could get heart pine, good heart, old original pine, it'd last a long time if they kept the rest of it, of the bridge up, and kept the water off of it. That was the main thing.
So it was there was a practical purpose for having a roof on a bridge.
Oh yeah. Yes, sir. That roof was very important.
What did you put on the roof?
Pardon?
What sort of roofing did you have?
Well, this in here is, when they was first built, they was built with them old shingles like people used to cover their houses with. But when metal became available, we started covering them with metal. I never helped roof one. I've been all over this one. You know, nails would get loose, and we checked that out ever so often. If we caught up and had a little extra, had some spare time, we'd examine them bridges, and if there's anything weak spots about them, we'd fix them. And we'd check them roofs, kept them nails drilled down, or keep the water out of that.
How did you check a bridge for weak spots?
Well, we'd chip into the wood, and you could look if one of them bridges got very weak. It'd have some sags in it. And old man Dave Trimmer he was a wizard at that kind of business. He could figure out right quick what was causing that. And we'd jack that thing back up on the level and fix it, whatever it took.
How would you do it?
Well, we'd put in new timber and re-bolt it.
Yeah. But did you have to jack it up, you say, somehow?
Oh yeah.
How'd you do that?
We'd cut a pole, good sized pole, and set it on down there. Them little things you saw hanging down under that bridge? That was for a scaffold board.
Does Clarkson have one? Does Clarkson Bridge have those? I can't remember.
Yeah. I don't know whether they're still there or not, but yeah,
Okay.
Now Ivan Williams redone the Clarkson Bridge after it wasn't used anymore. The county, when they made it an historical, he built that big rock pier out in the center. That wasn't there when I was working. That bridge swung from bank to bank when I was working. They hired Ivan Williams to build that rock pier under that bridge.
Make sure that it had some more stability, I guess.
Yeah, well, it got where it's hard to find anybody that knew anything at all about that work. And they knew they could build that pier there, that rock pier, and didn't hold it. It could have been done like we used to do them. It could have been jacked up and them timbers on the bottom. We bolt 2 by 10s together and made a solid. It was actually solid, one piece from one end of that bridge to the other, just as stout or stouter than if you could have sawed a 10 by 10 that long. Them boards buttoned together gives that thing more strength. And it got a sag in it. And Ivan Williams he was a good worker. I mean, he knew a lot about that kind of stuff. He'd been a sawmiller all of his life and put them things down. He knew how to level stuff up. And they jacked that thing up on the level and built that rock pier up there. Ivan's still living. Ivan and me was born the same year. Wade and me went by his place one day last summer, and we pulled in his yard and stopped. He's out there mowing his yard like a young man. The Cofer Bridge between Trimble and Good Hope. You know where that bridge is at. We was working there once, and we had a ratchet hoist. It had a long chain like a bicycle chain, and that thing was stout to pull stuff together with. And me and old man Trimble, our boss, that bridge had got in bad shape, and one side had lent out, and we was in there drawing it. We had that thing crossways of the bridge. We had it fixed on one side, had some good timbers fixed up, and we had that through that bridge, drawing it together. And we had a man ready to bolt it with a piece of timber overhead when we got it where we wanted it. And all at once, we heard a truck. There was a man lived at Logan. He was the wildest driver in this country, and he hauled logs. We heard that truck, and I knew it instantly when I heard it. And I told Uncle Dave, I said, we better run fast. And I tried to undo that chain, and I had trouble getting it undone. But I got it. And I looked, and the truck was inside on the other end of the bridge going from Trimble toward Good Hope. And I was I was a lot younger than Uncle Dave, and I could get around better than he could. And I beat him out at the end. I thought he was right with me. We both took off. And when I run out at the end, I looked and he wasn't with me. And I looked back and he was standing there bowed up. He's a great big man. That truck went by him in that bridge. I don't know how in the world it kept from hitting him. But it didn't. That was the closest thing we ever had of somebody really, really getting hurt. I mentioned that to my boy here just a short time ago. We come across that bridge coming home from somewhere back there. I told Wade, I said, I won't never forget Uncle Dave nearly getting run over in that old covered bridge we used to work on right here. And I remember one of the funniest things that ever happened to us was on that same bridge. Across underneath them bridges, I believe it's every 12 feet, there was an 8x8 bolted crossways under that bridge. The bolt come through it and up through the floor, up through that cord on the side, and all the way up the inside and through that cord at the top, every 12 feet, from one end of them bridges to the other. There was 8x8, we called them I-beams. Well, every once in a while, one of them would get broke. A big load go through, and it wasn't nothing unusual. It wasn't often, but every once in a while, one of them things would get broke. Well, Mr. Juddy Dunlap at that time was the boss over the county. He sent us word one evening that the Coastal Bridge had a sag in the floor for us to go by and check it and see what it needed. So we went by on our way home that evening. It was about quitting time when we got the word. We come through there and we discovered one of them I-beams was broke under that bridge. We come on down, the sawmill was down here at Trimble. We come on down there and they hadn't quit, they still sawing. We went out, Uncle Dave went out there and told them to saw us an 8x8, and we'd pick it up the next morning and tear it over and fix that bridge. And that night it come a terrible rain. Man, that creek was up the next morning when we went down there that morning, got that I-beam, went over there, and that creek was way up. Well, we didn't want, there was a quick way to put them in. We didn't want to tear the floor up. We decided we'd stick that thing out through that lattice, tie a rope. We'd done a lot of them that way, tie a rope around it, and throw it out, stick it out through that lattice, and we'd make us a little swinging scaffold that we'd swing down on each side, and go down there and fix it the quick way instead of making a big scaffold. And this McMahon boy started to tie the rope around that 8x8. I was going to shove it out the side, and we could go down and throw a rope and swing it around under the bridge. He started to tie that rope, and the boss, Uncle Dave Trimble, said, Ollie, you better let the old man tie that. And they said, if it gets loose, it'll wind up in Mulberry River. Said, we don't want to lose this one. So he tied the rope around that thing. We shoved that thing out. We shoved that thing out through the side of that bridge, and it never slowed up when it hit the other end. The old man made a mistake. That hit the creek, and it's gone. Everybody knew Uncle Dave. He liked it. He was a good singer. He went to all the singings all over the county. Nobody liked to sing any better than he did.
Trimble.
Yeah, Dave Trimble. Yeah.
Where did he get his training?
From his daddy. It was just natural. It was just natural with that family. I heard a man that worked with us a lot, Grady Knight. He's of the same family of Knights, it's the lawyers in town. I heard him say once you could throw old man Dave Trimble off of a ship a mile out from shore and give him an old piece of chain 3 or 4 feet long and a wrecking bar, and he said, "I guarantee you he'd climb out on the bank." I've heard him say that a lot of times.
Did the county job then mean something different than a county job does now?
Well, I don't know what. Yeah, I know it's different because we didn't have no assurance. I mean, these boys now, they got a retirement to this thing now, haven't they? And I mean, ain't they more or less like a union labor? Well, they wasn't when I was working. We worked 9 hours. I've left here a many a day with my lights on and come back with them on, a many a time. I don't care. We worked all over the county, us with that bridge crew. We worked in every district. Well, we had to be at the job at 7 o'clock. If it was at Joplin, if it was over yonder at that Sardis Bridge, if it was Arkadelphia, wherever it was at, we was there at 7 o'clock. And we stayed there till 5 o'clock. We took off an hour for lunch, and that was it.
How long did it take you to get home if you were over there like maybe, or Arkadelphia?
Well, the transportation we had back then and the way the roads was, took a pretty good while. We didn't have good equipment like they got now. And I've furnished my own transportation from here to Joppa and from here to Arkadelphia. I have furnished my own transportation going to that job.
How much gas did you burn having to drive that far?
I don't remember. We didn't make much that day, I know that. We didn't have to do it often, but we didn't make much that day when we had to drive like that. They finally bought us an old 37 Ford pickup. And it was wore out when they bought it. And we run that thing. Then they bought us an old International that had been used a lot. That's what we hauled at Sardis Bridge when we took it apart. We hauled it over there on an old International truck we had, county had. We drove it back and forth to work.
The Sardis Bridge, can you tell me, it's not still there anymore. You'll have to forgive me for not knowing, but it's not there anymore.
Yeah, yeah, it's there. I'm standing on it right there.
There you are. That's a good picture. When was this picture taken?
About 2 weeks ago.
Is that
something
right?
like that. I've been over, me and Lloyd's been over there several times. Now there's a picture of that bridge when it was put out yonder at college. And if my memory serves me right, that bridge, of course I wasn't born in 1909, but I've read some history on that bridge, and I believe that bridge was put out there in 1909. I can't tell you.
Now, are these the same bridge?
That's the same bridge.
But it was moved from St. Bernard.
Yeah, over there to Sardis.
Sardis, that's right.
We took it down. It was finished. It was ready for traffic 60 years ago this month. Over there.
60 years ago?
Yeah, 1942. I don't remember how long it took us. It took quite a while. We had done all that stuff bolted together, all that, what you could see on that other, and all that's all bolted together. And
what time of year was it? Summer?
Yeah, we started in I know we're bound to have started in the spring pretty early because we got it done in August. It took a pretty good while to take that thing apart and take it out there and put it back together. It took, well, what we had to do it with, it took a pretty good while. If they decided to move that bridge, and they hired them a crew to go over there and take that down and keep it in shape like we had to put it back up, they'd have $1 million worth of equipment sitting out there. We had about $250, maybe $250 worth.
What was that? What did it consist of? Hammers and
Rope blocks. You saw them where you rig up them ropes on pulley to pull stuff together. I'm sure
block and tackle.
Yeah. That's the main thing we had. Yes, sir. That's what we draw all that top part up with. We'd cut long poles and fix them up and hang one block up there, and that's what we done it with.
When you moved it out there, there was not already a bridge there, or was there?
No.
Does the road department have to clear a road to get to it, I guess, right?
The old road was there. I reckon that's where that other bridge was either destroyed by fire or water. I'm not sure which. The road was there first time I ever went out there. There was a roadway down there to it.
Did you have much of an audience, people coming out to watch you put it up?
Not a whole lot. When it was too wet to plow through the summer, when a lot of people would sit around down there and watch us some, but not a whole lot. But it took a long time. I told Wade the other day, we've been by there 3 times since they started this, and I said, I actually can't remember. I cannot remember how many piers. I know it's sitting on a cement abutment at each end. I remember that. But I don't remember how close together we built anything under that bridge. That 60 years has done something to me. I can't remember all that. See, we'd already moved 2 of them overhead steel bridges. On 278, there was 4 steel bridges across Cullman County, and we took every one of them. We took every one of them down and moved them and put them back up. 2 of them still. 2 of them others is still standing.
Okay, on 278, one would have been, was one of them there on Culpeper Hill?
That's right. That's the first one we took down.
Where'd you put in?
Down here at, you know where Crane Hill School burnt? Mm-hmm. You know that road turns down and goes, have you ever been down that road?
I don't think I have.
Well, down, we turn right there. And that Ivan Williams I mentioned, he lives just the other side of the creek down there. That Full-Widener, that road writes in the Tribune, his daddy's farm was just the other side of that creek on the left going down the way. We called that the Full-Widener Bridge.
Is it still there?
No, when they backed the water up, I don't know what they done with it. I asked Ivan, it was last year sometime, Wade and me went around through there, and Ivan was out in the yard and we stopped. And I asked him if he knew what they done with that bridge, and he don't know where it went. It was, I first heard that they took it apart and dropped it in the water and covered it with water, but I never did believe that, because I never did believe that water was that deep down there. And Ivan told me, he said, no, they didn't drop that bridge. He said, they moved it somewhere. He said, they took it down. But it's not in Cullman County. I don't know what become of it.
Okay, Culpeper Hill was one. Vest Creek would have been another, I guess.
No, Vest Creek was there, all right. There was a covered bridge there. It stayed there on a good while. That next steel bridge was between Bethel and Jones Chapel. Lasting last one going from Cullman out to Jones Chapel. That was, that's the one that's over yonder close to Sardis, between Jones Chapel and Sardis. The Culpeper Bridge was put down here below Crane Hill School, and the next one we carried out.
Is it still up, I guess?
It's still up. Wade and me crossed it one day last week. Yeah, it's still there.
You mentioned another bridge too.
There's three of them. The other one was out first and beyond the wire, going out 278 toward Holly Pond, and that's the ones they call the Harmony Bridge. And I've read where the county is figuring on leaving it there, and they're going to build a new one above it for that new school. So I read in the papers they're going to do that. But the other one, the one we put there we called it the Doc Gross Bridge. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Doc Gross, but he's an old doctor, lived just this side, just this last house going out before you got to the bridge. People started burning them after. I don't think there was one burnt long as I was working. The first one I knew anything about getting destroyed was the Grandview Bridge over here. High water got it one time. Water really got up, and it turned that bridge. It washed that bridge one end of it up, and it just swung around, and it was laying long ways to the creek, just below the bridge, on the edge of the wood.
That was after that you had stopped working on them, right?
No, I helped replace it.
How'd you do that? How'd you go about?
We replaced it with cement, cement bridge. Yeah.
What'd you think about that?
Well, I knew it was a lot better than them covered bridges. We had a lot of WPA hands in this county at that time, and they used a lot of WPA labor there on that cement bridge that we built. I watched them pour this and it's over there now. It was amazing to me to go over and watch them bring that load of cement out there and run it out there through a tube, through a hose, pour that thing. We mixed it right there on the job and wheelbarred it from the mixer out to the forms and poured it. And a lot of them wheelbars was rolled up a pretty good incline. And we made we had a piece of steel rod, and we made a handle on one end of them, made a hook on the other end, and there's one man that pushed that wheelbarrow, and there's a man in front helping him pull that load up them inclines of that form. It wasn't near as fast as what them boys poured that over there, or near as easy either.
So you say that when people started burning the bridges is when they started disappearing.
Yeah, this down here at Trimble burnt early one Sunday morning.
What were people thinking?
I don't know. People got mad about them. They didn't like them covered bridges. A lot of people, began to buy bigger trucks or this, that, and the other, and people just got.
You think that was part of it?
Yeah, I believe it was. Sure.
People said it's too hard to get across, or it's too dangerous.
Yeah, that's what I believe. I definitely believe that. The Ruby Bridge down yonder, the other side of Logan, it burnt. They said it a fire once, and somebody got it put out. And just shortly after that, it burned early one Sunday morning.
People had no reason to just burn something.
No. Well, just a few years ago, somebody burnt one of them covered bridges over in Blount County between and on that road Nectar Zone across there. There wasn't no sense in burning. That was, Blount County's got, I know they got 3, and I believe they've still got 4 covered bridges. Me and Wade and my wife, in the last few years, we had done a lot of riding around all over this County and all over Alabama. And I don't know how many times that we've wound up back over in Blount County. It's still amazing to me to go back to them bridges and look at them. The Horton Bridge, you know it. You know where it's at in Blount County? It's one of the highest covered bridges we got. I remember when the Cofer Bridge burned. I remember when this and down.
What did you feel when you heard about it, or you saw it?
Well, it bothered me, them people burning them bridges, because they's burning up a lot of history. And at that time, they're still serving their purpose. There's big loads going through them. Of course, I know that we couldn't use one of them now because there's too much traffic. It'd be too much of a bottleneck because it was one-way, it was one-way traffic through them things. You couldn't. And just like they done reworked that bridge across 65. They should have made that bridge ought to have been a 6-lane when they built it. They'll add more lanes to that bridge yet.